Welcome to Haunted Horizons GhostCast, where your hosts, Alison Oborn and Cag Allwood, will share their experiences in some of the most terrifying and haunted locations in Australia and overseas. So turn the lights off, relax, and enjoy. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Suddenly
It's not that hard.
Suddenly my ability to count down. Hello, Cag.
Hello, Alison. That was
How
a bit.
are you?
That was a bit more difficult than it should have been.
Maybe you should bring your microphone to your
Maybe
face.
I should bring my microphone a little bit closer,
Because otherwise nobody's going to hear
and
you.
then also that little pop thing, or whatever it's called.
The little pop thing.
Yeah, the little pop thing was in the wrong place as well. So that was a good start. Well done.
It was. So we are back with what some would term a very unlucky number for our episode.
Yes.
13.
Ooh.
Now, we were going to do another one, but then we thought, you know what? We have had so much bad luck with one of these episodes that we're trying to get out. We thought we would use it for 13.
Well, I think it's we have to. It's the only one. It's the only one now we could do for our 13th episode.
Because we've had so much hassles with it.
Yes.
We have tried it once and we ran out of time. Something came up, something that we had to drop doing it. Second time, we found our microphones, or my microphone wouldn't work.
No.
Who knew that you had to have a little gold dot on your side and not on the other side of the microphone, Cag?
I didn't realise microphones were just one way.
Well, we did when we spent all that time recording it last week.
Yes.
And finding it was dire.
It was.
And then this is our third attempt. But what happened? We lost all our notes on what we had happen. Because Cag and me go to these places, and we've done them ages ago, and we've done so much filming since that we have to recap on exactly what we had happen, because our memories aren't brilliant.
No, they're not, because we're getting on a bit. And yes, and when you have been to a lot of places,
it's a bit like a goldfish.
It is. Oh, a castle.
So we're talking the Sallie House. All right, so let's get on to the Sallie House. We won't chit-chat today because the Sallie House was quite a big one, wasn't it?
It was. There's a lot involved with the Sallie House. So.
And we kind of drove across it was on our road trip last year that we did it, and we were a little bit, you know, it's had so much hype. We had to do it, but we really, I don't know about you, Cag, but I suppose if it's like 30 East Drive, we were kind of, yeah, you know.
Well,
it's got to be done.
You got to go because it's one of those places that paranormal visitors go to if you can.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those places, there's no actual evidence or stories to do with the entity that's supposedly haunting that place. The
background story, yeah.
So it's just like, is it just one of these hype places?
And when we walked in,
it was just like one of those hype places.
Yeah. But we'll get into the history of it to show you why. But the Sallie House, it's actually along the Missouri River in Kansas, actually in Atchison. And somebody else is famous for Atchison.
Was there?
Yeah.
Who was that then?
Amelia. How do you pronounce it?
Earhart.
Is it Earhart?
Amelia Earhart. Not Earhart.
It's not his heart. It's Earhart.
Earhart. Amelia Earhart.
All right. So Atchison.
Oh, my, you just left it as it was. It was that carry on. Yeah.
So Atchison has a big claim.
Does it?
And it's not just the Sallie House.
Okay. What else is that then?
Amelia Earhart was born there.
Oh, is that the lady that used to be in the plane?
Yeah. She disappeared. Yeah, big mystery because she just disappeared. But that's her birthplace. The whole story is Dr. Charles Finney had the house. And yes, he did. He did exist, Cag.
He did.
It was his house.
He was a doctor. It was his house.
And it was used as a surgery as well.
Yeah.
So
I think the surgery was downstairs and they lived upstairs, something like that.
yes. So that's correct. That's a correct history. Now, it was his father, Michael Finney, that came across from Ireland and purchased two lots of land, not just 9, where the Sallie House is built, but he actually purchased next door.
Lot 9, not just 9.
Well, lot 9.
Well, no, because you
lot
said
10.
You see, when you said about purchasing, it didn't purchase just 2 lots. He purchased 9.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it sounds like he purchased 9
He actually only
lots.
purchased 2 lots.
Yeah, that's fine.
So
lots 9 and 10. That's what we're trying to say.
And he built the Sallie House between, and there's a bit of a discrepancy on the year, but he built the Sallie House between 1867 and 1871. Depends where you go as to what year it states it was there. Now, Michael died in the house. He was one of the deaths. So Dr. Charles Finney's father did die in the house in 1872. He also lost a brother as well. I don't know if you know about that.
No, what, Charles?
Yeah.
Lost a brother? No, I didn't know about that.
So Charles had a brother called Richard, and he died. He was just over a year old when he died. So
a lot of children died back early.
He wasn't very old.
Mm.
So you've already got the history of another child dying in this house. We'll get to the main one soon. So Charles Finney took over the house when his dad died, and Charles is quite an interesting character.
Oh.
I found out quite an interesting stuff about Charles. He was the youngest son of Michael and Kate Finney. Kate was obviously the mother. And Charles started his medical life as a bookkeeper for a doctor.
Okay. All right.
And it was Dr. Holland that encouraged him to go to medical school. So he obviously saw something in Charles that made him think he'd be good at it. And he did receive his degree. He did well.
Yeah, that's good.
And in 1894, he got his medical degree. But he had another little passion.
Did he?
He did. Because he was also a figure skater.
Okay.
Did you even know there was figure skating back then? But there was.
Well, I suppose you've got the does it get that cold over there that you can skate on the lakes?
Yeah, or I suppose it would in Kansas. I don't know. Kansas people, does it get that cold?
We really don't know.
Let us know. But here's the other quirky thing. He did very well.
What did he?
As Miss Colby of Baltimore.
He went as a woman.
Because he used to actually dress up as a woman to do the figure skating.
Did they know it was a man?
They found out eventually.
Oh.
And then he was banned from figure skating.
Well, go him.
Because they actually put out a thing that this competition is for all men can go in for it except Dr. Charles Finney. So once they found out that Miss Colby of Baltimore was actually a man, they stopped him after that.
Well,
so
good for you for trying that one. Well done.
Good for you. And I'm sure he looked absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
But apparently he was very graceful as well. He was as graceful as a lady, and nobody knew for a while. So his medical career went well.
Good.
And in 1914, he was also voted in as mayor of Atchison.
Oh, that's cool.
But that didn't go so well because he only held it for 2 years because he was caught illegally selling alcohol.
Oh, you got to love this guy.
So he's got quite a background behind him, Dr. Finney.
Because normally you think of doctors as being, really, really good people, but I like him.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So it was Dr. Charles Finney's father who bought the 2 lots. So he actually bought lot 9 and lot 10.
Okay.
Now, Sallie House is on lot 10. And we're going to talk a little bit about lot 9. So...
Oh, lot 9.
Lot 9 has a very interesting... But that is yet to come. Now... Cag, I'm really interested in lot 9 because when we turned up there, let's just state it, and I don't mean to insult anybody's house, but we pulled up outside the house we thought it was going to be because it was a creepy house. It was kind of a little run down. It had a few bits of stuff around. It was just creepy. And I apologise if anybody owns this house. But it had that creepy vibe about it.
It did.
And then we saw Sallie House, the number on the next door, and we realised that was the one. We didn't know it at the time until I started doing the history research. The number 9 was owned by the Finney family as well. So, and I started to find bits of history cropping up about number 9, lot 9, and that house there. The house next door on lot 9 was built by Charles Finney's brother, James.
Okay, James,
and that was
yeah.
built in 1879. So a few years after the Sallie House was born. And built.
Well, you could say born.
It was born.
It was born. Yes.
I like
it.
born.
Yes, born's nice. I like that.
It was produced.
Yeah.
Magically.
Okay, I love that. Okay.
By a builder. And at first, it was Kate, who's the mother of Charles Finney. She lived in it. But she moved on, and it was deeded then to a lady called Joanna Barnes.
Okay.
Now, Joanna Barnes is interesting. She was a divorcee with 3 children and another one on the way. So she was already pregnant at this point. Now, the neighbours had a few concerns about her because they came forward and complained that she was very violent and, in their words, insane.
That's not good when you've got 3 children.
I mean, she probably, I'm going to say, if she was divorced and she had 3 children and another one on the way, and now she had to cope on her own, I'm going to say mental health issues might have been a little bit up there.
Been a woman on the edge.
She probably had a little bit of a snappy temper because you've got to deal with all that.
Exactly.
And it's hard for a woman back then in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Now, she was institutionalised.
Okay.
Dr. Finney got her
unfair.
out. Which is, well, we don't know the circumstances, but Dr. Finney obviously thought it unfair because he got her released again under his care.
Right.
Now, sadly, what happened was one night she turned the gas on and she tried to take her own life. And at the time, she only had the one child in the house, Frank, which is the one that was born, the newest one, her youngest. Now, at this point, Frank was 6 years old. And unfortunately, he didn't survive that attempt. She did, but Frank didn't. Now, she did go on eventually to go back to her husband. She moved away, went back to her husband, but it was such a sad thing. So already the house next door kind of had this tragic background as well.
And you could believe that in that sort of house, though, couldn't you? Yeah.
And it's funny that we got that vibe about it.
It's strange, wasn't it? We knew nothing about it.
Yeah. Now, I will just put for all the historian buffs out there, I found one article that said it happened in the House 9, another one that didn't say where it happened or whether it happened after she moved out and went back to her husband. So we always like to say when we can't find the exact stuff, still looking. Now, after that, the mother, after that, it was deeded back to Charles's family. So it was deeded back to Agnes, who was his sister.
Mm-hmm.
And the mother, Kate, moved back into that house because she wasn't well. She was under Charles Finney's care because she had gangrene.
Yeah.
But sadly, she passed away. So she passed away in 1918, but she actually passed away in the Sallie House, not in her own house next door. So the 2 houses have a huge connection, which I'd love to know if anything has been experienced in that house next door as well.
It'd be good, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it? But we didn't find all this out because we try not to know too much when we go into these places, the basics. I'd love to go back or find out if anybody knows if anything's happened next door as well. So
that'd be cool.
Yeah. Now, let's go to the legend, Cag. What do you know about the legend of Sallie?
Well, Sallie was a little 6-year-old girl. She was in pain.
Mm-hmm.
Her mother brought her distraught to Dr. Charles Finney,
mm-hmm.
and he sort of diagnosed her as having appendicitis, and the fact that he was concerned that the appendix was going to burst before he could operate on her. So he tried to put her under with anaesthetic. Unfortunately, he needed to operate quickly, and it hadn't taken hold. So he operated on her while she was still conscious, and this poor girl passed away. Absolute agony, and you can imagine she would have been terrified because this person was operating on her. The pain would have been just unbelievable. So supposedly that is the story of Sallie.
The pain, if it was true.
If it was true, we don't know. There's nothing.
Nobody has ever found evidence to say that Sallie actually happened.
Yeah, exactly.
That he operated on this little child. So, but this is the one that is famous. That's why it's called the Sallie House.
Yeah.
In fact, some people have said it's not even a child.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's a demon. And a lot of people believe that you can't have a child ghost because children go somewhere a lot better. It's actually a demon pretending
to be a child.
Which I think is really sad.
I think that's
if
sad
you have got a child ghost, and then they're always being attacked and being made out to be a demon.
Yeah. So. I mean, we've got a child ghost at Tailem Town, and there's never anything nasty happen.
No.
We've been there 12 years.
We've got a child ghost at Adelaide Arcade. Yeah. In fact, we've got two that run around.
Nothing demonic.
No.
So, I don't know. It all comes down to your personal belief, I guess. So we have a list of deaths there, and there is more than just 2 deaths that we've mentioned.
There's quite a few.
We'll just cover some of them. They're mainly to do with the family. So we've got Michael Finney, who was the father, and he died in 1872. We've touched on him. That was Dr. Charles Finney's father. We've got Richard Edwin Finney in 1874.
So he was the brother.
Now, he was the brother, and he was only that year and a half old. So, but we've also, going through the deaths, I've also found a mammy.
She's a very strange name.
All that's listed. Mammy. Again, 15 months old.
But children did die young back in those days.
His sister Agnes died there in 1939. So her husband died there.
I mean, Agnes was in the 70s though as well.
She was, she died a good old age. Yeah. But her husband, William True, died there in 1918 of a stroke.
Right.
And Dr. Finney himself. Now, I found 2 reports. Dr. Finney died there in 1947, but I've also seen that he died in Topeka as well. So I'm not sure on that.
Well, yeah, that's weird.
So again, conflicting. But they're the ones we found.
And that's
now,
why you can't...
Mammy was known as Sallie.
Yeah, but that says 15 months though.
Well, she might have grown in the spirit world. Well, they're supposed to be a crawling baby for the rest of the eternity.
No, she's supposed to have been a 6-year-old when she was taken there. She's not going to...
No. They say a child is there. What I'm getting at. If it isn't Sallie, because Sallie never existed, could it be Mammy? So they've got a child there. Let's put it... They believe they've got a child there. Can't find any evidence for Sallie. What if it's Mammy, whoever she was?
Yeah.
And
could well be.
Mammy grew up a little bit. Not a crawling baby, but developed in spirit.
Because we don't know how it works, do we?
Well, people say when their loved ones come back to them, they always look younger and more healthy. When they see them in dreams or see them sitting at the end of the bed, the one thing people say, and I had my own long story, but I'm not going to tell it here, but I had my own dad, very weird story, appear in a dream. And he looked the picture of health. He looked younger, more healthy. So what if people have been believing there's a child there, or there has been children living there with other families, and of course whoever the child is knows that probably other children are going to respond to that age group. Or it's a demon. One of the two. Who knows?
You never know.
So in 1992, Deborah and Tony Pickman moved into the Sallie House while Deborah was still pregnant. And they decorated the nursery and filled it up with lovely soft toys.
Cool, as you do.
as you do, ready for the
Mhm.
nursery. And they were already starting to find that these toys would be moved around. So they'd be put on the floor from the spots that they were in, sometimes put in a little circle.
Oh, like a tea party.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And it
nice.
seemed like cute stuff at first. And then the baby arrived, and they kept the baby with them at first because they were a bit worried about what was going on in that nursery, because they started also to become more aware of Sallie. Now, they called her Sallie. And at first, it was fine, it was playful. But as time went on, it started to change. Now, Deborah had a psychic in, and this psychic had picked up on Sallie.
Yeah.
And she said to treat the child like her own.
Mm-hmm.
So Deborah would go out and buy her dolls and treat her like her own child. Tony was against it because Tony had a gut feeling that it wasn't what it appeared. And he did think there was something evil about it. So now, whether it's because he didn't believe that it was nice, whether because he was against it, he started to get targeted by Sallie. So he was being scratched, fire would start, little flames.
Even the dog would growl at nothing, especially in the
dog would growl
nursery.
at nothing. One of the teddy bears actually burnt as well.
Yeah.
He was getting burns on him. It was starting to get very, very hands-on. Now, at first, Deborah would defend Sallie until she realised what was actually happening.
One day, Tony went into the kitchen to
Yeah.
get himself a glass of orange juice, and he turned around, and there's this child standing in front of him. He actually sketched that child. It wasn't his, by the way.
Okay.
It wasn't his child.
No, different.
There's another child, and he sketched it, and it's a really, really cool picture that he sketched,
Except creepy.
but in a really creepy way. Yeah.
And he apparently got a very good look at her because she was only 3 foot away from him. That would be really...
Yeah.
Now, this is where it gets interesting because they tracked down some of the last owners of the house. One of them was the Humbards. Now, they'd moved into the house and they had a young daughter called Heather. And Heather used to talk about having an invisible friend called Sallie. She even recognised, because when the show kind of contacted the older owners, she even recognised Sallie from Tony Pickman's drawing. But they didn't have anything bad happen. So it was always kind of gentle stuff, playful stuff. They didn't have any of the attacks that was happening to Tony, which makes it even more curious. What was it about Tony that angered Sallie? Was it because he didn't want anything to do with it?
Could be.
And he was influencing Deborah to not treat her like a child. Now, even a police officer, a 20-year veteran in the police force, he was a brief owner, and he said he had cold spots and touches.
Yeah.
So, and he sold the house, and that's when the Pickmans kind of moved in there. So when the sightings crew went in, they were curious as well. And I think they were only going to do one thing on it, but they ended up doing a whole series. So if you go onto YouTube, there is all their little segments they did over that period. It's all being clumped into one lot. So go look for it. It's quite a fascinating look. Now, they filmed, this is the interesting thing, Cag. They had him sitting there and they had cameras on him. And they filmed those welts and scratches coming up on him.
And you could see they were fresh as well. And some of them were bleeding, weren't they?
And sometimes there was up to 8 witnesses who were watching that on the camera. And of course, we got to see it on the show.
That's pretty cool.
They even had one of the well-known psychics in, Peter James, who picked up on a young girl. Supposedly, he wasn't told anything. So I'm going to say you don't know with shows. That's my thought.
Yeah.
But he supposedly picked up on a little girl standing at the top of the stairs. And he too picked up that her name was Sallie. He went for a wander around the cemetery, local cemetery, and there was one very, very worn headstone there. And he said, this is it. This is Sallie. And when they looked into the records, it was indeed Sallie Isabel Hall. But the sad thing about the show, they didn't go on to verify whether that was. I don't think they even said how old she was, but there was no verification whether that Was
It would be interesting
you
to
would have
do
thought
that,
they would
wouldn't
have
it?
pulled out, made a big thing of that if it had turned out
Yeah.
to be a 6-year-old girl.
I think if
So-
it had been a year, they would have gone.
But
yeah.
he picked up on her Sallie.
Mhm.
Who knows? Now, to keep it balanced, because I do like to keep it balanced, there is a condition, isn't there?
And I'm glad you're saying this name because I'm not very good with this long words.
All right, big word. I've got to try and say it properly. Dermographism.
Yes,
Is
that's
that
well
right?
done. It is well done.
I had to do that several times. So dermographism, got it right the first time, guys. Second time, maybe a little bit. If we say it 3 times, it could be interesting. So demographism, can't say it for the life of me now. You know what it was. The first time I said it, that's correct.
Yes.
Comes up within minutes. It's a condition where if you stroke your skin or you scratch it, it comes up within minutes of you doing that. Now, we do have welts and scratches at Z-Ward as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I've often wondered, could it be dermographism? But it just happens. And I actually bring that up in the tour as well, don't I, Keg? Is I actually say, either somebody doesn't like these people, they remind them of somebody they didn't like, or their brains are so phenomenal, their body is doing it itself. And then I would put it as that, which is dermographism, but too many people over the 8 years we've been there, too many people have come out with it. And even people in the early days that we hadn't even told them because we were keeping it quiet for the first 2 or 3 months. So, and it's the same with Tony Pickman, because at the end of the day, those scratches bled, and that's not something that happens with dermographism.
No, you just get the marks.
You just get the welts because it's coming up from under the skin. And for those who are on the audio version, you might hear that Cag's voice has changed a little bit because the Sallie curse is continuing.
It is.
There's a lot of editing on this one.
I just had a major coughing fit. Now I can't talk properly.
And every time she gets back to the microphone, she has another one.
Yeah.
And this is why her voice is sounding a little bit struggling here. So, Sallie, leave us alone. Let us get this done. The interesting thing is, after the Pickmans left and sold up, because they obviously couldn't stay there any longer, not with what was happening, a lady called Gloria Fish bought it after that. And Gloria Fish claims they've had nothing. Absolutely nothing. Now I believe belongs to the council, or that's who we contacted, wasn't it, to organise investigating there. And the council people who've worked there, they have had the odd little thing happening.
Yeah.
So, is it still haunted? Well, was it haunted? We were in there fairly sceptical, I think, on this one.
I think we went in really sceptical, to be truthful. Well, I did. On a personal basis, I
think we both did. I think we thought it was a lot of hype. And of course, we walked in. We got there. We walked into the house.
Yeah.
And the first thing that surprised me was how small the house was. I don't know what I imagined, but I didn't imagine a house that was... It's a bit like 30 East Drive. We were taken away by how small
it was.
It
was just an ordinary house with a cellar.
Yeah, you wouldn't peg it for being haunted.
No.
So with the council running it and allowing people to go in there, investigate, and taking tours around the house, they've had a fair bit of stuff reported, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
Some of it was equipment not working, like ghost boxes and cameras, batteries would drain. And this is going to come up with something that happened to us.
Yeah.
But one of the most intriguing stories was on one of the tours, daytime tours, and people could have a little look around. Somebody lost their daughter. They couldn't find her. She wasn't with the tour.
It's only a small building. You shouldn't be able to lose your daughter in there, should you?
No. But they eventually found her up in a cupboard. Now, not a little cupboard. It's like a walk-in cupboard room at the back of a bedroom. Mm-hmm. And when they asked her what she was doing, she said she was playing with the little girl. So, and she hadn't been told because they're history tours and stuff like that on Dr. Finney, and so it was interesting that she picked up. Now, on the rational side,
There is signage all over about Sally and the hauntings. Could she have seen that?
Or could she read them, depending on how old she was?
Could she have heard her parents talking about the Sallie House when they went? Because obviously the ghost, it's well known for that.
Yeah.
So, that would be the rational side. But it's interesting. And I did go and do a lone vigil in that room a bit later on, which we'll get to. So we started our investigation, and everything was feeling. I wasn't feeling it. I really wasn't at that point. I don't know about you. It was still daylight.
No.
I just wasn't feeling it. I thought this is really, really comfortable. So we thought we'd go through the guest book as well.
We did. And
what did we find?
We found a really interesting post in there, didn't we?
We did.
From somebody that we know.
There was Amy's crypt, and she hogged a whole page, didn't she?
She did.
Whereas everybody else would put little things, not Amy.
No,
whole page. We hogged the opposite page.
Exactly. So Australia was in the same area.
Love you, Amy. Love your work. Now, straight away, we had an interesting thing, and we didn't know it at the time, did we?
No, and I'm impressed you actually.
It was accidental. It was accidental. I found it. So when I was going back through all that video footage, there was a low rumble on the video. And it wasn't until I went to look at sightings on the Sallie House, because I wanted to find more information on the scratches and the welts. And it wasn't until I went to that and I was watching it that it suddenly clicked on how familiar it sounded to something they caught. Because while they had the cameras aimed on Tony, and they're obviously waiting for the welts to come up, there was a background rumble. And they actually had that looked at and analysed. And they said it wasn't a car, it wasn't mechanical. And it was it was a slightly different pitch to the one I got, but they were nearly identical. It comes in suddenly.
Yep.
And it goes out suddenly.
Yeah, so it can't be a car or any sort of vehicle.
And I do put a car going past
yes, you do.
As a comparison a bit later on. So
yeah,
apparently Amy caught that as well, I believe, if I remember rightly.
Oh, cool.
On reviewing the footage, I came across a low rumble. I ignored it at first, thinking it was a car.
My name's Alison.
My name is Cag.
Why is a fly around me?
It's just gone past me, so it's all good. Okay. Yeah, they can hear you fine.
Okay. Everything's going off. My camera's just run out of power.
And then I happened to look back on the sightings episode of the Heartland Ghost and suddenly realised this sound had been captured before.
We heard this.
I'd like for you to show them that you're really here.
That anomalous low-level noise wasn't heard in the field by producer Craig Armstrong.
They had Rick Wilson, then president of Digisonic, who worked alongside the FBI and CIA. Look at the footage. This was his finding.
We looked for a lot of the characteristics that would immediately identify it as a definitely mechanical sound, as a definitely electronic sound, and those were ruled out.
Next, we did an EVP session, Cag.
We did, and one of the questions I wanted to, one thing I wanted to find out is, did they have a problem with Tony, who used to live there, one of the owners? So I asked out, okay, did you have a problem with the man who used to live here, Tony? We didn't hear it at the time, but when you did the review afterwards, we actually got a clear yes.
Yeah, so I'll put that one here for you to listen to.
Can you tell me, did you have a problem with the man that used to live here, Tony?
The other interesting thing that happened while we're doing the EVP was during it, I give 3 knocks. So, and then I ask, Sally, can you repeat that for us? Now, we don't get it straight away.
No, we don't.
We thought we had no luck with that.
No.
Until we had 3 knocks a bit later. And it wasn't long after, but it wasn't straight away. So,
and this is where it got interesting with the equipment. Because it says that whoever's there likes to play with the equipment, and we were having issues with the ghost box.
We were.
Thankfully, Alison is obsessed with ghost boxes and has numerous ones.
I like to have a backup ghost box.
And a backup to the backup.
To the backup.
Yeah.
To be sure,
exactly. And it's a good job you did, because we had issues right, left and centre with them, didn't we?
Yeah, you can take your words back then, Kat. She whinges, why do you need so many ghosts? But well, you didn't whinge that night, did you?
I didn't whinge that night, I have to agree.
So, I sat on the floor and I thought, you know what, I'll do a ghost box session.
The fact you sat on the floor wasn't a good idea in the first place, was it? At least I sat on a chair.
It makes me sound so graceful, doesn't it? I sat on the floor. No, I kind of slid down the wall and hit the ground with a thud.
And why did you sit on the floor, Alison?
Well, because it's a child. And
supposedly.
And I wanted to get down to a child's level. Of course, if it's a demon, I probably wasted my time.
Well, you probably did.
I needed to be 7 foot tall, probably. Sit up near the ceiling, but go and talk to it as it scuttles across the ceiling. Hello. But we wanted to get down to where the child level was, or I did. And so got down there, got my ghost box off. The demon?
Oh, God.
I'll have that back, thank you.
Sally! Stop it!
Just let us get this done, Sally.
Bloody Sally. Okay. My makeup's going to start running in a bit. I'm telling you now. My eyes are quick.
Now, I got my usual ghost box out.
Yep.
And it
was nothing. It was just...
It's nothing from me. Because my mind went blank for a moment. It's good that you managed to carry that on, Kat.
Yeah, I did my best.
For the audio version, you would not have noticed. For the video version, you might have seen a bit of a blank look then, mid-air.
Exactly.
So
mid-air?
Mid-air. I have my hand. I talk with my hands, guys. My hand was mid-air. My brain was somewhere completely else for a moment. So the first ghost box, my trusted ghost box, wouldn't even give any sound out at all.
No.
The second ghost box had so much interference on it.
It was appalling.
It was unusable. It did give 2 responses, though.
It did.
There's only 2 that we could make out.
Yeah.
And that was the usual.
Get out, followed by...
Out,
yeah.
At the same time, our ghost boxes weren't working. The video camera battery drained. Decided it only had 30 minutes left. It's fully charged. We'd hardly used it.
I know.
So now, because we couldn't get anything out the ghost boxes, we went to Amy's Ghost Tube Vox, which it's based on the magnometer of the phone. And that's how you say it, isn't it, Gag?
Magnetometer.
Magnometer. Magnetometer. These are big words we're using today.
It is.
I think you were correct. So magnetometer of the phone. So that allows your phone and Google to know whether you're north, east, south, west. And it's been programmed that if there's a fluctuation in that field, then there's a online radio station programmed to that fluctuation. So it's a bit like a ghost box, but working with an online thing. Now, we started to play that because we couldn't use the ghost boxes. And at first we didn't have much, but then it came out with
us. We are dangerous. Well, that's not creepy, is it?
Which we kind of chortled about
We
because we
did.
were still in that mind frame that this was all hype. And then it came out with the creepiest one of all. I see you. But it was in a really creepy voice, wasn't it?
Yeah, which is just what you need, really.
Not unlike that. I see you.
Yeah, it was horrible.
It's like, And that's about the point that we heard the 3 bangs that we didn't notice at the time.
No.
And that was on playback. All right, well, we'll just keep going with this. It's not constantly throwing things out, so it's obviously...
You're dangerous.
You're dangerous. Was that word dangerous?
Yeah. No, we're not. We're not dangerous.
We're not dangerous.
Clumsy, but not dangerous.
Oh, that wasn't creepy. I
No.
see you. Oh, that wasn't creepy. I
No.
see you. That was a clear I see you. I'm glad you can see you. I'm glad you can see you. I'm glad you can... Right. For instance, if I knock on the table here, are you able to do the same sound? See you. I'm glad you can see her.
After the 3 bangs,
Mm-hmm.
the only thing we had from the equipment then was leave. And we thought, do you know
repeated
what? They'll obviously want us to go. We've got the hint by then.
And like every annoying investigator that does not listen to a hint, we continued.
Well, we went into the kitchen.
We left that room. We thought maybe it's just wants us to leave the room, Cag.
Yeah, so we went all the way next door into the
Into the
kitchen.
kitchen. Because that's what we do. So I paid to be there, Cag.
Exactly.
The idea in the kitchen was one of us would go on the Estes, so I got the role of the Estes, which is the headphones plugged into a ghost box. Now, by this point, we had actually got a ghost box. When we got into the kitchen, this is the interesting thing, we got the ghost box working again.
Yeah, it was fine.
It was just while I was sitting in the lounge, which is really weird. So I wanted to put the Vox on your phone.
Yes. Yeah, because we take several phones away with us. Yeah, so I always take it 2, and Alison takes about 3 or
To be sure. Just in case one doesn't work. I like to take multiple things with me.
Well, especially if we're filming. So we use at least 2 when we're filming.
We do.
And then,
they're always handy to have.
And then we have spare ones for other things as well. So that's a bit embarrassing when you're trying to get through customs and they want to know why you've got so many mobile phones. We're not peddling them.
Like you put them in the little tray as you go through the X-ray machine. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Most people only put in 1. I've got 4 or 5 in my tray.
So we just go, YouTuber. We're not a YouTuber, but what we say? YouTuber.
We have a YouTube channel. We're not YouTubers.
YouTubers.
We have a podcast, Cag, but we're not
podcasters.
podcasters.
No, we're
exactly. Not. So I was trying to put in my code into your phone.
You were, and you've done that. You've tried it several times. We said, well, that's why it turned off, because you're just putting in the wrong code. To which the Vox replied,
it turned off. Which was a really big coincidence.
Yeah, it's just repeated what we said.
Yeah.
Which was really cool.
Now you got the best of both worlds.
It's my phone.
It is.
It's the wrong thing.
I'm going to get you locked out. Not now. No, go away. Wait a minute. That's why it turned off. Now, this is where it got very weird for me because I got on the headphones. And I decided I would stand at the top of the cellar steps because that was the only place earlier on, Gag. I'm going to say we were looking around the whole house. I opened the cellar door and it was like I just got hit by this.
Yeah.
And I just didn't like the cellar. I stood at the top of the cellar with the headphones on and Cag sat in the kitchen asking the questions.
So it started off really nice.
Well, it did, yeah. Well, for you.
Yeah, because you didn't have a clue what was going on.
No, I was standing at the top of a very creepy staircase going down to the basement.
So I said, look, Alison, I pointed out where Alison was and said, you can talk to her. And it came back with...
Well, I came back with thank you.
Yeah, which I thought was really nice, wasn't it?
It was quite polite. It was a polite thank you. And even at the early point there, I took my headphones off and turned to Cag and said, because Cag's going, oh, I started off really nice. No, you weren't standing at the top of the stairs there with the headphones on. Because I had my eyes shut because I like to focus in more. And even with my eyes shut and standing at the top of the stairs there, it felt like somebody was watching me. It really felt like somebody was watching me from down those stairs.
Now, at one point, you jumped. You jumped backwards
put them back
slightly.
on.
Yeah, you put your headphone back on, and then you jumped back slightly.
Yeah.
And you came out with cursed and English. So
Which
we're both English.
are.
Yeah.
But I think it was at that point also I started to...
You sounded angry.
I felt angry. And I was aware of it. I was aware of it. But I was starting to get angry at that point. My whole body language was also, when you see it on the video, you can see my arms become more rigid, more stiff, and my head went down. And it's almost like it was like my shoulders, and I started to breathe. I remember the breathing. The breathing was very like that. It was just that type of angry feel. And you continued. You kind of ignored my plight there at the time.
I completely ignored it. I think the problem was that our guests were concerned that you were stood at the top of the stairs.
Even they noticed that I was behaving a bit strangely.
They were, but they were also very concerned you were stood at the top of the stairs, and knowing what you're like with falling down, they were a little bit concerned with that. So we had that on mind. But then I said, how many ladies can you see? Maybe I should have used a different word for that one, ladies.
It's a very loose term for us.
It is. But then I had a creepy voice come back with, I see. That was a bit creepy. But then again, you were getting more and more angry and acting very strange indeed.
If there is somebody with us, can you tell me how many living ladies are in this building, please? In this home?
Here now.
Cool. How many ladies can you see?
I was also at this point swaying as well, wasn't I? It was getting more intense. It was getting a bigger build-up. And I remember I was swaying, but I think the reason I was doing that is I was trying to keep my balance, because I felt I was going to tip forward and go down those stairs. And that's kind of why I shuffled back a little bit. But I just started this swaying. I don't know why.
So I was asking more questions, trying to find out who it was that was there that was making you feel really uncomfortable. And then you came out with something.
Yeah, I stepped back. Who are you?
Which was a bit rude.
Well, no.
Well, the way you said it was.
It's their house.
That's true.
They have a right to know who we are.
That's true. And then what do you come out with then?
And I think you said, well, who are you? And I came out with dead.
Yeah, which is not good.
Well, at least they know.
Exactly. That's true. At least they know.
Watching.
Okay. Who are you watching? Can you tell me? Can you tell me?
Who am I?
We don't know. That's what we're trying to find out. Who are you?
Who are you?
Well, I'm just here just to say hello to you.
Dead. I'm getting, not the radio, I'm getting very angry. Feel. And the word devil came out.
Well, yeah, and I think this is where I probably upset them a little bit, because I did state that I don't believe in that there was a devil there, because it was a family home. And then it came out with a little bit of a rude word.
I think it called you a mustard.
Or a bar steward.
Bar steward. Oh, it did.
It did. Called me that, which I think was a little bit rude.
Then I started to report my hair being touched. because it just felt like somebody was playing with my hair. It was getting really weird at the foot of the stairs there. So, and then it changed. I think you upset it.
I did, because I talked about the demon thing. So I think that upset whatever was there.
So as we continued, because obviously that's what we were there for, and it started to come off. The theme was leave. Leave. There was a stronger word, off, than leave. Downstairs, a man. Leave. But to me, it sounded more urgent. More like a warning. And it was a female voice as well.
So we could have somebody warning us what was going on?
I felt like, and I'm listening back to it and looking back on it, on what I was saying and what the questions were, I don't think it was like, get out my house. I think it was a warning. That's the impression I got. Now, because it said downstairs, a man, and leave, you asked another question, didn't you?
Yeah, I just wanted to know if there was somebody down in the basement, and you came out with down there. One. Dead.
Yeah.
Little bit creepy.
Touch my hair. Leave.
You keep saying leave. Can you tell me the reason why? We're not being disrespectful. We don't want to hurt you.
Something off.
Okay.
Peters, tell us.
Downstairs. A man.
Who's the man?
Leave. Female, leave.
Yes, there's somebody down in the basement.
Down there.
Is there? Is it a male? One.
Dead.
Oh, one dead.
Dead.
Okay.
And it makes me wonder what's down in that basement. I don't know about you, Keg, but it would make me want to dig up all that basement.
I know.
Because there is a section that's been filled in. So it's in two sections, the basement. They've knocked a hole through one section, but that's all full of dirt and everything else. It does make me curious. I mean, it's probably nothing. It came out of a ghost box and it's probably just random stuff, but it does make us curious. Down there. One. Dead.
All right, so I was doing the live feed again. Alison was at the top of the stairs doing the SDs, and people on the live feed reported hearing a noise. I didn't hear it at the time.
No, I certainly didn't. I had headphones on.
No, but it was actually caught on the camera. So, and at the same time, you stepped back.
Oh, okay.
And they reported it sounded like a child or some sort of scream. So, but I never heard anything at the time.
Yep, it's in the video, so I won't put that one up here because it's only small, but you can hear it up on YouTube. Because of the cellar theme, I believe you were asking if we should go down in the cellar.
Oh, yes. And I said, which one of us should go down? And it came out with a lady.
Yep.
So that ruled us out, didn't it?
It did. We had to go and get somebody off the street.
So then I asked, well, which lady do you want? And it says he wants you. So I said, okay, which one? And the box came out with either one. Yeah, so then you came out with something.
What was it?
Actually, you said me. It's just said my name.
So it was like it wanted to talk to me. And this is the weird thing about the night. Because it seemed to be focused around me, didn't it?
Yeah, I didn't have an issue with the basement. I mean, the place got a little bit creepy at times, but not to the extent that it was for you.
Yeah.
So they obviously wanted you in the basement.
And then we started to get what could have been warnings again. I was saying things like, he's out there. And you said...
Well, we need names. We need to know who it is.
And I just heard laughing. And help.
And also then we're sort of asking, you know, what help do you need? What help do you want? And it came out, he hurt.
At the box.
Mm.
And then I said, again, dead.
So I'd love to know what's
In the
going
cellar.
off in the cellar. It needs to be dug up.
It does so need to be dug up. If the council's watching, you need to dig that cellar up.
We do. We so do.
I actually came off the Estes at that point. I just couldn't. I was so unsettled. My breathing had changed. I felt so angry. I wanted to cry. The emotion was so intense, the feeling. I had no choice at that point but to take the headphones off and have a break. So we're in the lounge and I was explaining to Cag what I was feeling and how it felt to the camera because she had the video. So kind of giving the rundown. We had the Vox still on, running in the background, and the Vox comes out with the name. Sallie. I don't know, that was... Yeah, probably the most ones that's caused me the most anxiety to do because there was a... Was that Sallie? And just after it came out with the name Sallie, the REM pod that was kind of about 8 inches away from me triggered. Now, I hadn't moved my feet, I hadn't moved my legs, I had no phone in my hand, so there was no EMF.
No.
And we'd gone off the live then. We were just privately chatting on the camera for YouTube episode later, and it just triggered. It was the one with the gummy bears on though, because you decided to try and put gummy bears on the REM pod because we're dealing with a child.
And not only that, we'd eaten so many of them. We're like,
you want to get rid of them?
We?
Yeah. Please, Sallie, eat the gummy bears, love.
Yeah.
Because we've had enough.
Exactly.
So we were also discussing, it really did change. It went, and even you were saying it was more on edge after that.
Yeah.
Because it went from ho-hum to just being really
creepy,
really edgy in that house.
The atmosphere
something
just
I wouldn't
changed.
have thought.
No, it's almost, I know it sounds a bit weird, it's almost as though you release something from the cellar.
Open the door.
Yeah, you open the door and something released from the cellar. It sounds a bit weird, but that's what it was like, wasn't it?
Release the Kraken.
Yeah, exactly.
It was so, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it's like we went up to the nursery.
We did, which is supposed to be Sallie's room.
And we had...
I don't know why Sallie's got a bedroom up there, by the way, because she didn't live there.
Exactly. She wasn't a little girl that lived there.
Yeah.
So there you go. First Mimi it would have been. So I have, for those who can see it on the video, I have a little robot. Now, if any of you have watched Amy's Crypt, you would see the little robot. In fact, if you visited the Sallie House, you'll see it on the bed. It's a tiny little Fisher-Price robot thing. It's motion activated, so we found out, because you moved, didn't you, Cag? And it went off.
It did, yeah.
And it just kept going, Daddy, 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 which is very creepy. And it went off. At first we were excited, then we realised it's because Cag had moved. We did debunk it.
We did.
And we settled on the floor. We weren't getting much. And I did ask, I think it said song or sing or something like that, if I remember rightly. And I said, Cag will sing for you. And the Vox said, Queen. Now, that is a...
invitation.
If ever they obviously have heard our rendition before.
Yeah.
So immediately we had to get into our wonderful singing voices.
And it was one of the worst performances we've ever done. It was so bad. But they didn't think so.
No. Because we said, did you like that? And it's a good job.
Yeah, the Vox came out with a good job.
And the more interesting thing from the Vox was I said, well, that was a gift for you. And a voice came out of it. It was a female voice. Mm-hmm. And it just said, for me?
Yeah, that was so sweet. That was so sweet.
And then he said it probably wants a refund. They want a refund on all of that. So, Mama just killed a man, put a gun against his head,
Pull my trigger, now he's dead. It's a happy song. Life has just begun, but now I've gone and thrown it all away. Job. Did that just say, oh
Good
God?
job. Good job. Did you like that then?
We sing like larks.
Where do I?
That pillocks.
Elena is up there.
So did you enjoy our singing?
That was a gift. That was a gift to you.
They probably want a refund.
Now, because we weren't getting much in the bedroom, we decided that we had to do the Estes again. We'll put Cag on it this time. And she was sitting out in the hallway.
Yep.
And again, we weren't getting much from
No.
responses. I don't think you were hearing much.
No.
Nothing was gelling to my questions. But as I was asking the questions, suddenly our little robot friend triggered.
Yeah, well, I didn't know this because I had the headphones on. So
I was so excited. We were live, live streaming. So we were live to our Patreons when it happened. And I was so excited because I was hoping that robot would go off. And the nice thing is nobody moved. You can see it in the video. Nobody moves. I'm sitting in the doorway because I'm leaning in the doorway with my back against the door frame on the floor. There is nobody in the room, nobody near the bed, and suddenly off it goes. And it says it only 3 or 4 times, and it just goes, Daddy, Daddy. And as I was getting excited, Cag over here suddenly came out with, at that moment,
Thing came on.
which I was sitting there going, Thing certainly did come on.
And then supposedly I said, got away with it.
And I'm like, nah, you didn't. I think we all saw it.
Maybe you're here because of us. Because we're chatting to you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
How you doing?
I am doing really well. How are you? Probably. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God, that just went off. Nobody's near it. All right, but nobody's moving. Nobody's moving.
Sauce.
Guys.
Look who's in mine.
Yeah, look who's in your bedroom.
Former.
Is that you playing with it?
Thing came on.
The thing did come on. Oh my God. The thing did come on.
Got away with it.
Well, you didn't get away with it because we noticed.
We had to say that's the little one that you have. We have
a big version, don't we, Cag? Because I thought I was getting the little one when we ordered it. This one fits in your kit a lot better.
I love this one though. I think this one is so cool.
Well, I'm going to thank Lex, one of our Patreons, for this one because he donated this one and another one of those.
Yes.
Which you can have if you like.
Cool.
Because he knows that I really, really wanted one. So
it's going in my kit.
How can you get that in your kit?
Oh, I'll find a way. I'll take the red one out. And everything else that's in there. Just take that one. Tonight, guys, we're using this.
We haven't got any equipment at all because it's all gone out of the kits. And instead, I've got this really big, annoying doll. Alrighty, so we decided at that point, lone vigils. Now, it had said it wants somebody down in the basement, and I know it said my name, but I sent Cag down instead. Hey, I took the creepy upstairs. I took where it's supposed to hang out. Sally's supposed to be. I took the main bedroom where the cupboard was, walk-in cupboard. The girl saw the child, supposedly.
Yeah, exactly.
I did actually take the little
toy
robot off the bed because I thought, well, okay, well, if it's just randomly doing it, I want to keep an eye on it. And I put the robot in that cupboard, in that little room, that little walk-through, and sat on my own. Meanwhile, Cag went down to the basement.
Yeah, it was. I think I couldn't stay in there an awful long time because it was quite dusty and dirty.
It was dusty. It was also hot as well that night.
So hot.
And the interesting thing, and it goes back to it all seemed to be centered around. It's all about me, Cag.
It was all about.
It
is always about you.
All about me.
Mm.
But it did seem to be more centered wherever I was.
Yes.
And not so much where you were.
Yeah.
Because you went down into the creepy cellar and got nothing. Nothing.
No. Oh, there is the one thing I heard, but we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah. While I was sitting there, I was getting voices on EVP. I was having the EDI going off. I was having bangs around the room and upstairs. And at one point, I even heard footsteps, and it seemed to be footsteps running up the stairs. And I thought, hello, something's happened with Cag, and Cag's coming to come and get me with her being in the basement. And I waited. I said, is that you, Cag? Waited. Nothing.
And what was interesting, it was caught on my camera in the cellar because I thought you were moving around.
Yeah.
But neither of us had moved.
And we had a floor between us. So I was on the top floor, then there was the kitchen and lounge, and then down in the basement. So we had that floor between us as well. So to buffer the sound. Mm-hmm. And kind of when we were hearing all that going down, you didn't know it at the time, Cag, but when I went through all that footage, you did have an EVP.
Yeah, which is a little bit creepy when you're in the basement by yourself.
It's a good job you didn't hear it.
I'm so pleased I didn't hear it. Because when you get, he's coming.
Yeah.
And you're like,
he's coming.
That's not good. No. It's not good.
If something had crawled out of that division hole in the wall.
Oh, yeah, I would have been.
And then you didn't catch it on video.
I would have been out there. There's no way I would have actually got anything on video.
He's coming.
He's coming.
We want more, don't we? I was hoping you're going to live up to the reputation.
The other thing I noticed also, which was really interesting, was the toy didn't glitch.
No.
And I thought, I was in that bedroom for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And that toy robot did not glitch once.
No.
So...
And also, I had nothing happen in the basement, but that's because they wanted you in the basement and not me.
We did discuss that. Could it have been because they actually named me to be in there? And I didn't. I went upstairs. I'm glad I went upstairs. I had way more happen. The funny thing is, now I'm going to say, when I was upstairs on my own and I was getting that stuff happening around me, I didn't feel that feeling I had standing at the top of the stairs, going down to the basement. Very calm. I did not feel threatened at all by it. And I usually don't like sitting on my own in demonic places, as people call it. Mm. And in the basement, you felt very comfortable too.
Very comfortable. I could have, if it wasn't for the fact it was so dusty in there, I could have, and so hot, I could have stayed there all night.
And it brings me up to something, because for us personally, the Sallie House, we had positive experiences there. We did. Apart from
we did.
Apart from this cellar bit where I was at the top of the stairs and I started to get that anger.
Mm.
Everything else with the responses, everything else we had, it didn't feel threatening.
And the thing is, all of those people that we know that died in that building were just the ordinary people, family members. So there wasn't anything bad. The only bad story is the one that supposedly happened to Sallie, which we can't prove.
Yeah. And it just make me wonder, and I think we brought it up with 30 East Drive, and when we did the Villisca, which we have to do an episode on yet, but whether the house haunts itself eventually. You get enough people going in there expecting this story, expecting a demon, expecting a little child. Could it be it's adapting to what we are creating, if you like? Is the house haunting itself? It's whatever we want it to be. If you go in there expecting it to be a demon, you're going to get things coming back at you that seem to be demonic. If you go in there expecting or expecting nothing, like we go in and we're just gently asking questions and we're not challenging and we're not really expecting anything, and we're having fun singing Bohemian Rhapsody, you know. We got a positive experience, and I sometimes wonder it's our intent when we go into it. I can't say it is, and I'm just throwing a bit of hypothesis out there, but I don't know how you feel about that with all the places we go into.
Yeah, we're never disrespectful. We don't, unless they start first. No, like at Licking County Jail.
Licking County Jail, they started it.
Yeah, but we are very polite, and I think that's the reason why we don't get anything bad, is because we're not bad people ourselves.
And I guess we go in with a sense of fun as well.
Yeah,
we don't go in with that, you're going to prove all that. We go in, it's just us. We're there. If anything happens, we have fun. We obviously do.
And the thing is, we're not rude people anyway, genuinely. Yeah. So I'm not going to go in and rant and rave at somebody that I don't even know. I mean, you don't, even if you go into these bigger asylums or prisons, not everybody deserved to be in these places.
No, they didn't.
So how do you know that you're not abusing somebody that really didn't deserve to be there?
Well, that's it. So what do you think? Sallie House. What's your view on the Sallie House?
My view on the Sallie House, my personal view is I don't think there's nothing demonic there. That's just me, though. Sorry, guys. And is it haunted? It's strange.
Yeah.
But I think I think people have brought it in there. What about you?
I personally, I think I said it all a few minutes ago, that maybe we create that. I think that there's definitely something going on in the house. I can't honestly say what, because we weren't there long enough. All we can say, and this is what we're about. We're not about saying things are haunted, not haunted. We know places aren't haunted all the time. You have active nights, you have non-active nights. All I can say is agree with you. We had some weird stuff happening, and all we do is we log it.
Yeah.
It could be radio. It could be natural house movement. A toy may have a glitch. All we do is we log it, whatever it is, and just put it out there for you to decide and you to make up your own mind.
But one thing we haven't mentioned, it's supposed to go for men. Does not like men.
This is true.
We didn't have a man with us.
We didn't have a man with us, so that's the other thing to consider.
We did actually think about going on the street and grabbing somebody.
Should we go and grab a man from outside?
Yeah, because there was quite a few people going around.
There's a couple of people who just came up earlier on, just came up to the house to have a look through the window, because it's a Sallie House.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be good to do that. What's in here? It's a Sallie House. We could have grabbed one of those, man.
We could have done. I think the wives might have been a little bit upset, but anyway.
A gun, though.
I think, that was a bit of a
He wasn't
concern.
coming in.
But yeah, so we didn't have a man. So would the things been different if we had a man there?
Exactly.
We really don't know.
We don't know. So, but no, interesting place. I would like to get back one day, I think. Now I know a bit more about the actual history. I think there's a lot of stuff. And I so want to know if the house next door, Lot 9, has anything happening as well.
I'm not overly concerned about going back. I think because we've done it.
Yeah.
But if it comes up at some point,
if we're in Atchison, something else. So excellent.
Cool.
We will catch you later, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, this is where we wind it up and remind you to follow the podcast.
Yes.
Share to everybody, even the people you don't like.
Exactly.
All right, just share it out.
Maybe even more so.
Maybe even more so. Yeah. If there's a button, CAG, whether it be on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, if there's a button, press it.
As long as it's a thumbs.
As long as it's not a thumbs.
thumbs
if it looks like a thumb pointing downwards,
Don't.
Back away slowly.
Yeah.
Do not touch that thumb.
Mm-hmm.
Not unless you really didn't enjoy this podcast. But go and subscribe, guys, to everything we do. We have Facebook, we have YouTube, we have obviously this podcast. So love to see you there. We also have Patreon.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go. Enjoy your time, guys. Catch you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Please remember to share, like, and subscribe to this podcast. The extended video version of these episodes are available for members of Spotify and Patreon. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and see the full investigation from these episodes on our YouTube channel. Details are in the About section of this podcast. Thank you from Cag and Ali for listening.